Wasn't so much thinking there. Yes, well done. We've got some Waterbuck drinking in a much more attractive little pan down there, shaded by some young combretum bushes. There we are. Gentle reflection of the summer vegetation down to the left, and the one on the right, Xongile has just looked up. What do you think it's looking at? No, Xongile, it's looking at a baboon. Quickly, there it is. Look at the baboon up top there. He's just like a human being who's trying to pretend he didn't nearly fall out of the tree. That's wonderful. Now, that is the sentinel, everybody. He is looking out for the rest of the troop to see if there isn't a predator about. And so were he to see a leopard or a lion, he would go, bow, bow, bow. And the others would look up, and they'd know where the threat was and what it wanted. Look at that. How cool is that? That is wonderful. Let's see if we can't get another view of the rest of the troop. How's that hilarious? Ridiculous animals. Right down here we go. They were having a drink around here. There's the Waterbuck. We'll just see if we can't spot the rest of the troop. You know, they're so nervy, these baboons, that I don't want to get too close to them. See if we can't spot them before we drive any further. Bull Waterbuck. Alright, let's carry on just around the corner here. I first spotted them. Have you got them? Stop, forward, backwards, sideways. Across the boundary. Oh, look at that. That's wonderful. There they are, doing what all families should be doing on a Saturday afternoon, sitting together, enjoying the sunset, having a bit of a scratch, feeding on the ticks that have climbed onto their bodies during the day, and possibly eating a little bit of fruit. Isn't that lovely? And as I was saying this morning when we saw them, it's when you see them like this that they look so very human when they're sitting with their feet up, looking around, scratching. Yeah, that's not very polite scratching there, is it? Now you see those fearsome teeth, of course. That is what makes them very dangerous to something like a leopard. And it's why a leopard will hardly ever go for a baboon except a young male. Not sort of Hosana's age, but if you find a 2-year-old, 2.5 to 3-year-old male, they will often take on baboons. I think probably to do with the revenge that for the terror they felt as very small cubs. That looks like a young female. Cat, interesting how you'd think so. You say, will the sentry, will the sentinel sort of point when he sees danger? What will he do? How will he indicate the direction of where the threat's coming from? No, he won't point. He will just look. He'll just look in that direction, and they will be able to pick up from his look where exactly the threat is coming from. Now, of course, this is a favourite haunt where we are now, right at Twin Dams of Karula, but we know that she's nowhere near here, so she's, they would panic if they saw a leopard. They'd be very cross, of course, and they would probably chase her. So they're not worried about a leopard in this area. There could be Tingana, I suppose. He could be anywhere around here, but the Nkuhumas are nowhere near here. So pretty much I think these chaps, bar a meeting with Tingana, are going to be very happy just to spend much of the rest of the evening on that termite mound, possibly come down for a bit of a drink, and then they'll climb up into the trees and go to sleep. Annie, a very good question from you, but I don't think it's quite correct. Your assertion is maybe we're seeing these baboons here because we're seeing increasing numbers of baboons because of the Impala lambs, so they come into the area to try and catch them. No, because baboons and Impala lambs are fairly evenly distributed, and although there are a lot of lambs here, there are lambs everywhere. So I don't know. I don't think that's the reason. I am not sure why they're spending so much more time up here in the north. My guess, Annie, is that because we had more rain up in the north of the Sabi Sand than the south to start with, I suspect things like those white berry bushes, which we've seen them eating, have flushed up here earlier than they have down in the south. And so quite possibly what's happened is that they've moved up into an area where there's just a bit more to eat. There are probably a few more insects around and that sort of thing. But Impala lambs will be pretty much universal throughout the place. And I mean, it's unusual that they'll catch an Impala lamb. They will try, but it's not common. They look so relaxed and happy there, don't they? There we go. Yeah, they'll go and feed a bit, I suppose. And then they'll find a high tree to roost in, probably on the Mluamati drainage, one of the big scotias or jackalberries. Hello, Carol. You're wondering what baboons do at the night time. Carol, normally they go to a nightclub. They spend a good deal of time drinking heavily at the bar. They really are known for their appalling alcohol habits and then dastardly behavior afterwards. No, I'm of course being completely facetious. Carol, they go into trees, the tallest trees they can find. So I suppose something like that big jackalberry over there would be ideal. And they'll go up and sit in a tree like that. And that's a leadwood, go to the left, there we go. They'll go up into a tree like that and spend the night there. Right, while I tell Xongile the difference between Combretum imberbe and Diospirus mespiliformes, Jamie has a pile of poo to show you.
That is an interesting way of describing it, but yes, we do in fact have a pile of poo. It was an entirely accurate way of describing it. It is a pile of civet poo, which is actually more correctly known as a civetry, which is basically the equivalent of a civet midden. Now, a civet, for our new viewers, is... how do I describe a civet? It's like a mixture between a cat and a badger. Something like that, but it is not in fact related to either cats. A little bit more closely related to badgers, but not really. It's probably more closely related to mongooses. So it's a sort of a medium-sized animal that eats a variety of different things, and that's why these civetries are always such a fascinating place to be, because all kinds of things are to be found if you know where to look, or where to dig in this case. And you'll notice that I have a great deal more reticence when it comes to touching civet feces than I might otherwise. So this civet recently has been feeding largely on millipedes. So there's plenty and plenty of millipede exoskeletons. There's also all sorts of things like this. That was actually a relatively large scorpion at one point. Don't really want to touch it, but I'll pop it. How's that, Liam? If I pop it there, it was a big scorpion, and it was a big scorpion that was basically swallowed whole. Most of its juices would have been, the civet would have chewed it once or twice after biting off its tail, chewed it once or twice, got the juices out, and then swallowed the entire thing. And of course, exoskeletons are completely indigestible, which is why we're seeing the combination of millipede, which, bear in mind, most animals can't eat. I'd love to know what it is within the civet's biology that allows it to digest that amount of cyanide. And so it's a lot of cyanide that's contained in all of the millipedes that this civet has eaten. And then we've got something interesting here. And I'm going to try and find another stick because mine just broke and I still don't want to touch this particular pile of things. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, we seem to be having a minor problem with the camera. VM tells me that unfortunately cannot be fixed without us actually doing something to it, which will involve having to, at some point, send you, in fact, not at some point, right now, we're going to have to send you over to Byron. We'll catch up with you shortly.
Sorry. So we're still sitting with the lions, everyone, and they haven't moved. There's been a bit of stretching and there's been some yawning, but no movement just yet. I'm not sure if they are going to move anytime soon. It's still very, very warm, and as you saw yesterday, we spent some time with lions too, and they didn't move much at all. They're very comfortable and try and stay in the shade and conserve the energy until a little bit later, and then potentially move around and maybe go. But have a look over there. We've got one of the cubs rubbing up against the female. Tricky to see now. There. That is very, very cute, isn't it? See, the lions are very affectionate, and the reason for that is that it just strengthens the bonds within the pride constantly. They constantly rub up against each other, clean, groom one another, and it strengthens that bond a lot. I think what we might do is we might spend a few more minutes with these lions, maybe another 5 or so minutes, just see if they get up and move. Otherwise, we may move on and see what else we can find. It's nice to see them, but when they are resting like this, there's not a great chance we're going to get too much activity from them. I wonder if some of our viewers are just enjoying watching sleeping lions and taking the afternoon off a little bit too. Haven't had too many questions, which is okay. It's nice to just sit and watch and enjoy. Still a very, very clear day. There's not a cloud in the sky. Completely clear. Good afternoon, Parsley, and from my hometown of Johannesburg in Fourways. Parsley, you'd like to know, are the leopards prone to a mange like lions? They can get it, and I do know of incidents where leopard cubs have died from mange. So yes, they can get it, and there's not much more to say about that, I suppose. But I mean, again, I think it's only in times of severe drought and if the animals contract it, especially the cubs are vulnerable to it, and they are usually the ones that can die from it if they get it. But yeah, leopards definitely can get it too, and I do know of incidences where leopards have caught it and died, or leopard cubs rather. Cardinal, you're saying these little cubs are really starting to grow up quite quickly and looking like part of the pride already, which is great. And again, we've been monitoring them, and when we do watch them and see when they stand up and move around, they seem to be doing very well. No sign of that white muscle disease that we know they had a while ago. They seem to have recovered from that. And they're all looking good. The whole pride's looking very, very good at the moment, which is great news for us. Very, very happy about that. So maybe it's just a test of survival of the fittest, and those that weren't strong enough to survive it unfortunately didn't make it. But that's that is nature, and that's nature's way of keeping a balance. Otherwise we'd have too many predators around and possibly no herbivores. So bye-bye. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye. Liz, now you are one of the viewers that do try and study the markings and try and identify each lioness. And when they are still like this and they are lying down, it is a bit easier to have a good look at markings and try and see if you can identify the lionesses in that. Now we actually, when I was guiding at a lodge permanently, we tried to form a identification kit for lions, so we could get an idea of which females and which prides were around and what was going on. But I must admit, we found it very, very difficult, and I'm a little hesitant just to say we recognize a lioness or a male lion. If there are distinct markings, which there are if you study them closely, but at times some of the lionesses can be difficult. And I remember we did try. We had photographs, we had ID kits, and we tried, and then there'd always be a debate between the ranging team which lions were where. So it's just always wonderful to see a pride of lions or to see a leopard, but it is still nice. I know for a lot of us who view these animals regularly, it is nice to know which ones we are seeing and where they're moving. I'm going to leave these lions now. They're not going to move anywhere. It doesn't look like any time soon. Let's see what else we can find. But while I do that, let's quickly head back to Jamie on the bushwalk.
I am still with my civet tree because I actually hadn't finished talking about it before we had a minor issue with the camera. So let us finish off where we were. So if you cast your minds back to about, probably about 7 minutes ago, you will remember we were chatting a little bit about the exoskeletons and the fact that it is remarkable that civets will be able to digest and to metabolize the cyanide contained within millipedes. But what's also remarkable is the number of these beetles that are in this particular civet tree, and they're actually all over. The more I sit and I look, the more I can see the sort of the main mass of the civet tree heaving as these beetles dig below the surface of the dung, or of the feces to be more exact. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There was a fifth somewhere here, but at some point while I wasn't watching, he's dug his way in here. And they're fascinating to watch, and they are a species of dung beetle apparently. So Aubrey tells me they're a species of dung beetle, and obviously one which makes sense, because they're sitting in a pile of feces. So they're a species of dung beetle that obviously is adapted to deal with the byproducts of civet digestion. There's another one. I'll cover him up in a moment. That must have been where the fifth one went, digging slowly but surely down into the pile of dung. And of course not all dung beetles roll balls of dung, so this particular one must have been, or this particular species must obviously be adapted to dig right down underneath this civet tree, which probably is quite deep. Probably the debris extends quite deep, because a civet will come by this spot each and every single night and deposit his feces. Sorry buddy, I'll cover you up again. There you go. I uncovered you. There you go. Now you're nice and protected. And they seem to be, the 5 of them were actually together earlier, and it looked as though some of them were mating with each other. So it does seem as though we've got a nice mixture of males and females here, but I'm not 100% sure. I really am not 100% sure about the life cycle of this particular beetle. I can just say that they are, in fact, beetles. And the other interesting thing about this civet dung, feces, is that it contains grass as well. Very badly digested grass. And perhaps the civet wasn't feeling particularly healthy. Or perhaps it just adds a necessary part of their diet. Very interesting. So civets are omnivorous. And James Robertson, you mentioned that perhaps it is, or that you had read somewhere that it was the fruits that they eat that can neutralize the cyanide within the millipedes. And that's very interesting. What confuses me about that, I mean, I'm more than willing to take your word for it, but what confuses me about that particular theory is that there aren't actually any fruits at the moment, except maybe white berry bushes, but I've never really seen a civet eat a white berry bush. They usually, their favorite, you'll often find in fresh civet scat, you'll often find old jackalberry seeds, like these. These are jackalberry seeds, but these are old. These are very, very old. The jackalberries have actually stopped fruiting now. I haven't seen any fruiting jackalberries. I've never seen a civet eat a marula fruit. I have seen them eat guarri berries and raisin bushes. It's interesting because they don't have access to fruit all year round. Certainly they don't have access to millipedes all year round. That's purely a summer delight. But they don't have berries all the way, or fruit all the year round. So I'm curious to know exactly what it is within. Perhaps they store something from the fruits that help them to metabolize the cyanide. I don't know, but I'm curious to actually find out. I've seen, as I mentioned this morning, I've seen wild dogs eat them as well. They love to chew them. There's a whole heap of information gathered sort of together in this one little civetry. I don't know why civets get their own name, why it isn't just called a midden. Impala don't get their own name, it's called a midden. Rhino get called a midden.
Hyena's got their own name.
Oh yes, that's true. A hyena has a latrine. Valid point from them. A hyena has a latrine. And here, I know I said I wasn't going to touch it, but I can't help it because I can't pick that up. It's too delicate. Wait, let me actually do this. Oh, goodness. I feel like this could end badly for me. That is the end of a scorpion sting. Maybe even the scorpion that we saw the exoskeleton of earlier. How cool is that? That incredibly sharp point. And then look at that, the bristles all over the tip of the tail, obviously for helping it to feel and to guide the tail, particularly when using it for hunting and for stinging. And speaking from experience, that tail is whip fast. It is very, very fast. And this would have been quite sore. This looks like it could have been a Pithecampus, or it could have been a very terrifying, I think it's probably a Pithecampus, so it's not a hugely painful one. Or it could have been what are they called? Europlectes. Probably not a Parabuthus. Intimidating, isn't it? Okay, well that can go back to the dung beetles to use as their debris. I think we've dissected this civetry enough. I once was desperately searching for a way to describe the smell of this particular civetry and what civetry smell like. Now, VM's very good at describing scents, and so is James. And James told me that it smells like goat. And that's exactly what it smells like. A civetry, particularly a fresh civetry, smells like goat. I don't see any complete pieces of civet feces, so I can't actually show you what those look like. They are exceptionally large for the size of the animal, but they don't appear to be any. So I think we'll leave our civetry dung beetles to their business and start slowly but surely heading for home. We'll have to navigate around Queen Karula, who's not too far away from us as we speak. Well, up we get. Okay there, Viam? Do you want me to grab that battery? You got it. Okay. Cool. Whew, and again the world did a little spin. We're just trundling along down Philemon's cut line, past the old hyena den, old and empty hyena den. It's very sad. I do wish they would come back and rejoin us once again. It would be very nice if they would do so. Liz, absolutely. It's possible that a civet might have the knowledge of plants to counteract the effects of the cyanide, much the way an elephant has an understanding of what plants it can use for toothache, for example, or whatever stomach ailments it happens to have. The same with many animals in the torchwoods, the tambuerties, and various sort of different medicinal plants that the animals know about. So yes, it is totally possible that the civet is aware of some sort of plant that would actually help it to break down and deal with the presence of so much cyanide in its diet. I don't know. I don't know whether James or Byron have any greater insight into how the biology of a civet works. I'd be very curious to know. I might have to go and try and find out. And it's not like it's the only animal, but it is the animal that really their diet is very much dependent upon a diet of millipedes, particularly in summer. There's a civet that lives somewhere not too far away from here in the Philemon's Dip drainage line. So that probably is his or her civetry. And both of them will contribute to civetries. They also mark their territory by anal pasting, which puts them really into the group of mongoose, what are those things called? Genets. Not all together in the same family, but related in the sort of the same super order, or same order. That's not true, sorry. No, it is. It's the same order. Right. Well, as we slowly but surely trundle on home through Philemon's Dip, it is time for us to say our goodbyes and our thank yous. So a big thank you to Aubrey and to Viam. Aubrey for his security detail and for helping us find things, and to Viam for his wonderful camera work. And a big thank you to all of you for joining us. I will catch you on the Sunrise Safari tomorrow morning. Until then, bye-bye everybody. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the Sunset Safari.
Ta-da! Did you like the little ident, everybody? That's the first time I've ever been linked to from the ident. I'm quite like it. Especially when Jamie says goodbye and we have soothing music, and then me. Chandra is looking shocked. Right, our plan is now to head towards Beetle's Dangween and see if we can't find anything there. Perhaps the elephants that eluded Baron have decided to come along this way. I have suggested that one of us goes back to the leopards at some stage today, and Baron, of course, has not seen the leopards today, so I feel it is only fair that should he wish to go, then he should go. Because we, of course, have spent all our time with the leopard and some baboons. Let's see what else we can see up here. What have you seen? A stone. There's a tiny, tiny little thing. I think it might be a lamb. Which is, it's a young duiker. And like all duikers, it's running away at great speed. Sigh and wheeze, sigh and wheeze. Ooh. There is a very large pig. Nice timing there, Chandra, well done. It's still very hot, you know, everybody. It seems to have got hotter almost. And that pig agrees with me because he's been sitting in some mud. So he's very comfortable. He goes, we'll try and... Yeah, let's go a little... Oh, no, you've still got him there. Let's just watch him move. There we go. All right, let's carry on. Let's go up the way here. Now, it always amazes me when I look at a pig like that. It's not the biggest pig I've ever seen, but it's not a tiny pig either. That a pig like that can weigh as much as a newborn elephant. Oh, and there's another pig in the background. A plethora of pigs. Now he's turned his backside like that to us because he knows that he's quite fast, and should he wish to run away, that is the end that he wishes to sacrifice before he wishes to sacrifice the front end. I always think it must be such a terrifying life as a pig. Now watch Andre do what's called a focus pull. Do it, Andre. Oh, beautiful. I wonder if that's his wife. No, I think it's his companion. Gorgeous. Right, well, he's clearly sick and tired of us. Let's carry on. See what else we can find. It's very nice having a little bit of breeze blowing on my face. What do you think, Andre? Pleasant, isn't it? Oh, there was a nice cuckoo flying there. Panis, you're wondering about smell, something very close to my own heart, or my nose, you're wondering which animal smells the worst out here. I think that, what animal smells the worst out here? I think you'll probably find that a hyena, if it gets close to you, is probably the worst, most evil smelling thing. Wild dogs smell bad. I mean, they smell like wet dog. There's a Steenbol that is now frightened because I made a noise by hitting a bush. Can you see it there, Andre? There it is, young male, very nice. Obviously running away, why wouldn't he? So Planet, I would say a hyena is probably the most smelly thing out here, other than a wild dog, but wild dogs I like too much to cast aspersions on their scent. And I believe that perhaps the stalking predators like lion and leopard, I certainly can't pick up a smell from them. And of course our human noses are pathetic in comparison with the animals out here. But I don't pick up a smell from them, so I don't think that they smell particularly strong. And little Steenbok decided to lie down. There, we can still see you, Chana. There we go. There we go. And see, he's a little bit nervous, obviously. But interestingly, the thing that we know smells the least are the young calves of animals that don't live in thick bush and have to move down to water. In other words, things like sable and roan, they, which are antelope we don't get here anymore, but they live in long grasslands away from water, so they have to go down to drink, which means they have to leave their youngsters. And they're able to do that because their youngsters are born with almost no scent at all. And so where a predator, that predator would actually have to stand on them in order to find them. And obviously they don't do that in the long grass away from the water. And so that's why they don't smell at all. That's the young of roan and sable, which are two antelope we don't get here. Two of the most beautiful antelope. I shall show you a picture just in case you are a new viewer. And Cecilia, you're wondering how little a newborn Steenbok is. I've never seen a newborn Steenbok, but I mean, judging by its size, proportions, it must be about that big. Isn't that tiny? Right, let me find you the roan and the sable quickly. I should, of course, just be able to turn to them because I'm so skillful, but unfortunately I cannot. And they are two of the most beautiful antelope. They're from a family called the Hippotragai, which basically means the horse-like antelope. There they are. There they are. Hippotragani. That is the roan on the top and the sable at the bottom. Magnificent creatures. I'm not sure why. I suppose it's slightly horse-like without the horns. Gorgeous. Right, on we go. Beetleshoek Dam, our next stop. Byron is apparently going to head towards the Leopards, so that's very nice. Not sure where young Hosanna is. I'm a little bit worried about him, but I'm sure he's fine. Nice to have our leopards all in one place, I find. Excuse me. Now there's a Bateleur's nest up around here, and the Bateleur's nest that we have up around here is very kind of famous because we see it all the time, and I wonder when they're going to sort of bring forth another chick, because they've had a juvenile living around here with them. Now he's not quite an adult plumage yet, and he's been around here since I've been here, and I'm sure he must be about time that he went off on his own. The nest is somewhere up here, but I don't see either of the Bateleur. Now, okay, let's carry on. And try and find something at the waterhole, perhaps an elephant. Elephants have dispersed a huge distance now. Oh, and Debbie, you know, of course, that I've been hoping to find some weavers. You're asking if any of them have been building their nests around the waterholes, and I must confess to you that I haven't seen any weavers. Taylor saw one or two, I think lesser masked weaver, they're now called village weavers, not lesser masked. They used to be called spotted-backed weavers. They're now called spotted-backed weavers or village weavers. And she's seen them building one or two nests, but I really haven't seen anything. And the tree that they used to build in, that was hung neatly over the water treehouse dam, has unfortunately come away from its moorings as a result of the excavations that took place there. So they're not doing it there. But maybe at Beetleshoek Dam, I haven't seen any though, which is a bit sad because I love the sound of weavers. Their swizzling calls. I saw one the other day. He was swizzling away, but he wasn't building any nests. Last year, of course, as many of you will know, we had almost no weaver activity at all on account of the fact that there was so little water, so little rain. Right, we're now onto the Cheetah cut line, which is the far eastern boundary of our traversing area. And if you look up the road, what you can see is that we have got very golden light now, where the sun has set sufficiently for us to start enjoying the light. There's a cool breeze starting to blow. There's a baby Impala over there. I'm sure it's going to hide behind a tree so we can't see it. That's difficult not for it to hide behind a tree in that sort of area. You see it there, Gendry. There we are. Mum and little baby. That's brand new. That is very, very new indeed. And that's why, of course, they're on their own. It just takes about half an hour or so for the youngster to stand up and move and be quick enough for her to find the herd again. A very, very vulnerable time for them right now. That is a completely defenseless animal. See, it can hardly stand. Isn't that cute? Karula nowhere near us, so she's safe from Karula. Poor impalas, I do feel sorry for them. Everything likes to eat them. And Jerry reckons this might be one of the youngest ones we've seen this season. I mean, it can hardly remain upright. There's a little bit of the umbilicus there. I could see that's the remnants of the umbilical cord. Very sweet. Look at the nose looking through the bushes there. That's really cool. Until it doesn't do it anymore, of course. It's turning into a beautiful afternoon. Right, let's carry on from here. We'll leave the little baby tiny Impala. Oh, no we won't. There's the juvenile Bateleur of which I spoke. You'll see it, Jondry. And there it is. He's struggling to leave home, this poor fellow. Who can blame him? He's a millennial. He's a millennial Bateleur. It's a very impressive haircut he's got, as the gentle breeze blows up his crest. So for those of you who don't know, of course, a Bateleur is normally a magnificent bird of black and white and with a bright red face and red legs, but when they're young, they're not quite as good looking as when they're adults. And that one probably, I would say, in his sort of 4th year, so he's about a 4-year-old bird, they're only fully grown or fully in adult plumage in their 7th years. So he's got some way to go before he's fully adult. He might be a little bit older than that. You can see that in that picture that his tail is almost completely gone. And the adults, of course, have no tail at all. And that just helps them to fly at low level without any drag and minimum effort. Even preening his bottom leg feathers, that's interesting. It's obviously very difficult to keep feathers in good order because once they're mature, the blood vessels die inside them, and so they don't really have any feeling, and there's no kind of nervous system feeding them, and so they have to manually fix every single feather on their bodies. Now, completely unlike our sort of hairs, which live and rejuvenate themselves. Hello, Kimber. You're loving the bird sightings at the moment. I'm also loving the bird sightings, Kimber. I think they're great fun. Summer, of course, is the best time to be looking at birds. It's an excellent, excellent time to be enjoying the AV fauna of the Greater Kruger National Park. On we go. Spider hunting wasp nearly took me out. And the other thing we're going to look out for, of course, Jean-Andre, as we head towards December is?
Santa.
Not Santa, no.
Reindeer.
Reindeer, no, not reindeer. Try once more. I'll give you a clue. Not elves, no.
Mrs. Claus.
It begins with Miss, but it's not Mrs. Claus, no. Mistletoe, very good. And of course mistletoe grows in these marula trees around here. We shall try and find some. And I shall make sure that I am not underneath it at the same time as Jean-Andre. Well, that will frighten me deeply. In fact, I'm getting a shudder. Hello, Samantha. You're wondering about any local culture, local holidays around this time of the year, perhaps, or at other times of the year. We have a number, but most of them are kind of... Jean-Andre is now pouring water in his eye. What is wrong with you, man? Something flew into his eye. In fact, it's swollen up quite nastily. Oh, well, we might have to take him home. Never mind him for now. Samantha, there are no sort of very traditional holidays that we have out here. Many national holidays, but they're much more recent, sort of born of the last 60 years or so. In fact, most of them in the last 25 years or so, since the advent of democracy here. There are no real kind of cultural holidays, I don't think. I mean, there are a couple of localized ones, absolutely. Sort of king's birthdays and that sort of thing, but not much otherwise, no. So, for example, in KwaZulu, which is the east coast of South Africa, the northeast coast of South Africa, they may well celebrate the King's birthday, but it wouldn't be sort of a national holiday, but it might be a localized holiday for people. Right, we're heading towards my favorite mistletoe spot, so we're just going to avoid it. Don't want to be under there with Xongile. How's your eye, Xongile? Is it okay? Good. That's a relief. I want to stop and have to administer first aid to Xongile. Well, exactly. Now, I'm going to try and get us into a position where we can watch the sun go down. It's starting to look rather pretty. I haven't seen a zebra since I've returned, I don't think. And that is because they have all dispersed off to other areas as the grass has started to flush. It's quite a nice tree up here. But we can try and look at the sunset through. Ah, here we go. Now we're not parked underneath it, but there is an enormous example of mistletoe up in this tree here. You see in the top left hand corner there. That's it. Now with any luck it'll start to flower fairly soon. There we can see the beginnings of the flowers. That's it. And this one I think is called lighted matches, because the flowers look like Xongile. Yes, that's correct. Lighted matches. That's very good. Well done. Excellent. Now that is a parasite on the tree. It will eventually kill off that particular piece of the tree. And then the tree will have to sacrifice that bough. It will fall off. And no doubt the mistletoe will take up root somewhere else. Isn't that nice? Now what we'll do is just give it a very wide berth, of course. Righty, here we go. Xongile is pulling horrible faces at me, everyone. It's not something you want to see. Don't worry, I'll put up with it for your sake. Ah, that's what I wanted to do. Sunset, not under the mistletoe. No, Xongile. Next to that gorgeous tree there. Huh? Yeah, there we go. Ah, too much beautiful, eh? Very lovely. Mountains in the background. I, of course, have looked directly at that sun, so I can see nothing else at all. Isn't that pretty? Xongile, tell me it's pretty. What do you mean, It's gorgeous. There we go. Ah, dream state. Super zoom the sun. It is a bit too hot. Alrighty, let's carry on. We're nearly at Beetles Dam. We'll watch the rest of it from there. That's very slick handling of the ND filter there, Xongile. I'm going to drive a little bit quicker, just so that we do have a little bit of time and light at the water, in case there's some elephants having their sundowners there. Yeah, Debbie, I think you're probably right in Vancouver there. You say perhaps we need an entirely normal rainy season for the weavers to come back. Look, the weavers are around. I just think still some of the males haven't achieved their adult plumage. What have you seen, Xongile? Lion tracks crossing out. Thank you very much. Very helpful. So Debbie, I think maybe you're right. The weavers are around. They're just kind of nondescript and drab and brown. They haven't achieved that gorgeous golden yellow plumage that they get in the summertime. And that's probably, you're right, because there isn't sufficient to eat just yet for them. I'll just nip around the corner here to the dam. There's something else I wanted to say, but I've forgotten what it was. Ah, sunset in summer, Jeandre, isn't it lovely? Marvellous. Not much else going on other than the sunset. Byron, in case you're worried, everybody, is a little bit lost, but he is on his way to the Leopard, so he'll be there soon. That's why you're stuck with me waffling away. We just need to give him a bit of time to find it. And then you will be back with Karula and Xongile. Unless she's moved off, of course. We might get another sunset view here. Sorry, Diane, I missed your question there. Geraldine, you'll have to go again with it. Oh, does all mistletoe grow as parasites? I think it does, Diane. As far as I'm aware, all mistletoe does indeed grow as parasites on other trees, all the species throughout the world. I'm not sure it ever kills a tree, but certainly out here, and it doesn't kill the trees, but it does chop off pieces of them. Eventually, and I think it's the tree actually sacrificing. Many trees will do that, and if you look at brown ivories quite often, what else? Brown ivories and jackalberries, they will sometimes, in really adverse conditions, Scotias do it, the weeping boerbean, they will often, after a drought for example, sacrifice 3 or 4 of the biggest limbs, of the biggest branches, and they will just die off and eventually fall off the tree. It doesn't make a huge difference to the tree, of course. It's not quite as big and magnificent as it once was, but they do drop off their branches in order kind of to save themselves. Byron apparently is, Byron is with the leopards. Let's go and find out how they are immediately.
So we decided to give up on the lions who were resting, so we decided to come and have a look at the resting leopards. It's so great to see Karula and one of her cubs again. I haven't seen them for a while, so it's nice to get to and hopefully spend some time, and maybe with it cooling down we might get a bit of activity and they might move around. So let's see. It could be really, really nice and lovely cool drainage line that they have found themselves in. I can't see where the kill is at the moment. I think it's behind us somewhere, the remains of the kill. You can see they're quite hot. I'm just resting in the drainage line. This is still the little female Xongile. I always struggle with the pronunciation and some names that you don't hear very often. I can't remember. Brian, is it Xongile? And Hosana, I don't know where he is. He's wandering off around somewhere. A young male, as young males do, I suppose. It's always just so incredible to sit and watch leopards like this. It is relaxing again. I mean, it just shows you that generally the cat behavior when it is hot, they do prefer resting and lying down in drainage lines like this. I'm not sure where they were lying when James saw them, if they were out in the open or if they were deeper in. But still just resting in this area. There's no need to move. I suppose they've got food nearby and it's cooler here than anywhere else. Kathy, so you wanted to know if these leopard cubs will move or become independent on their own, or does the mother have to push them away? So, Kathy, usually what happens is once they get, and the average is about a year and a half, so 18 months, once these little cubs get to about that age, the female actually forces them out. She'll start hissing and growling at them, and then they quickly get the idea that they have to move off and find their own little territory. But what happens is the females, so Karula would most likely give up a portion of her territory for the young female, and the young male, he will have to move off and find, he'll be nomadic for a while, but he'll have to go and find his own territory where there's no big dominant male that will push him out. His father might, and again we think his father is Tingana, he might tolerate the young male being around for a while until he gets to a certain age, and then possibly chase him out and cause him to go and find his own territory. I have seen young male leopards 2, 3 years old, 4 years old with their father still in the same area, and occasionally the two of them meeting. So it can happen, but generally speaking they do get pushed out and they have to go and find their own territory. But the females, they'll give up a portion of their territory for the young females. And then she can extend it in the opposite direction away from where her mother's territory is. Sure, I always feel like these cars bake us a little bit. I think we gently slow cook in here. That panting again, just to try and stay cool. And I wonder if that young male will meet up with these two later. A good possibility, a good chance. Bobby, you want to know, how does the female know when to stop taking care of the cubs? So I think it's just instinct, Bobby. I think the females, now again, you know, I think she knows, she realizes when they get to a certain age that they're now old enough and probably mature enough to go on their own, and she perhaps has taught them how to hunt well enough and they need to fend for themselves. But I've seen quite a range in that age where they get pushed out. I've seen young cubs as young as a year old get pushed out and fend for themselves and survive. And I've seen young male cubs up to 2 years old, just, you know, about 2 years old, just over 2 years, staying with the female, hanging around, and when she makes a kill, that big young male, because at that age they're already quite big, will come through and try and steal the kill from her, but he'll follow the mother and stay with her. So I've seen quite a range, but generally it's instinct. The female knows these cubs are probably successful enough or able to be successful on their own. She's taught them how to hunt, and we saw it the other day. Brent was very fortunate to see the young cubs chasing a squirrel, and that's all a learning process for them, learning how to hunt, learning how to stalk, learning to use their agility and their speed to catch something. And when they get a little bit older, the female might even possibly take them into an area where she could leave them to try and hunt for themselves, and they'll start working their way up. Maybe smaller antelope. These Impala lambs at the moment are actually a good way for her to teach the young cubs. Once they get to that stage, she'll probably then decide that it's enough, they need to move off on their own, and she can continue doing what leopards do, patrolling her territory and potentially mate again. I do think this female might have the chance to mate again in another litter, judging by her age. Because how old she's now? 10, I think, almost 11 years old. She's about 10 years old, I think, if I remember correctly. I stand to correction. I think she was born in 2006. Sorry, she was born in 2004, so 12 years old. 12 years old, that's it. So yeah, so I do think she's got perhaps another litter left that she might be able to raise. She's been such a successful leopard. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't have another litter. No, I wouldn't be surprised if she did have another litter, rather. How cute is that little female? Very, very beautiful. It was very kind of James to let us come back into this area while he was in search for something else. So we get to spend a little time with the leopards. I haven't actually sat with leopards for a while, so it's nice to get back, view some leopards and spend some time with them and see what they get up to. I have been very, very fortunate that in my guiding career I've worked in areas where leopard viewing is incredible, and I've seen a lot of leopard behavior and seen a lot of leopards, from cubs to adults to mating leopards, leopards fighting, just about everything, which has been great because I've learned so much just from viewing them rather than actually reading up in a book, because some of the stuff that I've seen, some of the behavior I've seen, I've never read. So it is interesting to see how wild animals adapt and change their behavior from what experts think they know. I think it does change out here daily, which is important. We need to remember that, because they're wild animals. There's never a guarantee. You can never predict what they're going to do. I mean, by the amount of, or the years I've spent viewing leopard, I've got an idea of what I think they might do. But it's never a guarantee. Never, ever. James, interesting question about the males. You want to know if the males, or if I know of a male that's stayed nomadic and has been unable to establish a territory for itself. I'm just trying to think now, James. Sure, not that I can think of. All the young male leopards that I remember all managed to set up a small territory of sorts. And I think all that would happen is if there was a lot of dominant male leopards around, then those territories that they set up might just be a lot smaller. But I do think they do end up staying in an area at some point. But then once they get old and they get pushed out, then they become nomadic again. If there's too much competition, then yes, they will indeed just move through areas and try to stay away from dominant males. They won't scent mark as much or at all, and then try keep a low profile, just hunt and feed and survive, and that's it, and just try to stay out of the way of the dominant male. So it can happen. It can happen. Oh, there we go. Karula is up. She might just change positions. Let's see what she does. Little, just relieving herself there of Impala. And it's interesting how big cats will get up. They'll walk away from where they're lying down, and then they'll drop their dung or their scat. And often when they get up after resting for long periods of time, and then now we'll see, she could potentially just change her position and go lie down somewhere else again. It is still warm. Oh, look, little cub is doing the same now. Let's see if she walks back this way. There we go. And I'm curious as to what she's going to do. She may head back towards a kill, although I'm not sure where it is. No. There we go. Just change positions, lie down in some cool sand again. Oh, look, here comes little Xongile, just in front of the vehicle. Not far from us. So I swapped with James basically. I'm here with the leopards, and he has gone to the Nkuhumas. Let's see what they're up to.
Right, everybody, we're here with the Lion Pride in the hopes that, well, rather like I was hoping that leopards might do, they'd get up and do something, and they do indeed seem to have got up and are doing something. But what we did notice, of the three in the little pile over there, is that the one closest to us has got a rather nasty wound underneath her left elbow. Isn't that cute? It is rather marvellous, I must say. So sweet. So this is what they of course do, lions. They start to get going as the sun goes down. They stretch, they lie down, they stretch, they do a bit of bonding, then they lie down again, and then eventually they get moving. Now, I haven't seen this pride since I went away, and when I went away they seemed to be in dire chance, or there seemed to be a chance of them being wiped out completely by that white mussel disease. And while that cub doesn't look great, I must say, he's certainly walking easily, there's not a problem there, and now he's relieving himself. Chandra, give the man some privacy. There's one lying there on its back having a play. That's much more entertaining. Left, right a bit, right a bit, right a bit.
Behind the bush.
Oh, is it behind the bush for you? I'm so sorry. That's not behind the bush, Andre.
There's one rolling behind the bush.
It's very cute. They're starting to move already now. It's quite early for them to be moving, but they are hungry. Oh, there's that gash, nasty gash. Look at that. That can... Oof, I wonder what did that. Could have been a claw. Easily have been a tooth mark, I suppose. Maybe from a male. And apparently it was seen 4 or 5 days ago, and it was a lot worse. It is a lot worse now. Yeah, it's obviously bugging her. Look how they've got that funny little teenager look about them now. I don't know if you can see that over there, everybody. Lioness now sharpening her claws. Let me move very slightly forward. Oh, that would have been such a lovely picture if I'd been parked correctly. They're heading up sort of towards the Buffelshoek cut line. Sorry. There we go. Oh, not sure what happened there. Now that one's really got a gangly kind of teenager look about it now, or pre-teen look, and clearly unable to scratch without using its tongue at the same time. And look how they mangled their ears are. That's from the mange that they recovered from. In the background, of course, you can hear the pearl-spotted owl. Now, best of all, Jean-Henri, look at that little cub there with the floppy ear. Taylor's very favourite lion. I think many of our favourite lion. Isn't she sweet? I'm so glad she survived. The Egyptian geese flying overhead. And the lion's just sort of, the lioness is growling a little, ho, 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 telling the cubs that it's time to get up and get going. And the cubs won't hunt at this stage, but they'll start to be a little bit closer by than they were before. They might follow a bit and then they'll stay, then they'll find a hidey hole and stay in it. That's Amber Eyes, I think. Now again, her mating situation has not lasted long. It's lasted far shorter, I think, than it should have. So whether she's actually managed to conceive a youngster or not, I'm not sure. They've all been doing a little bit of marking on that tree, smelling it, rubbing, leaving their claw marks. There is an element of territoriality about that. I would move forward, everyone, but I'm afraid I've parked us right on a stump, so I can't. Jackie, you reckon that their claw sharpening is a good sign for some hunting activity? Well, it might be. The lying down isn't such a great sign for some hunting activity. What isn't such a good sign, Jackie, is that they're heading due north towards Buffelshoek, which is not great. They're the little cubs, and we'll just wait for them, I think, to see if they get up and move. Good little floppy ear. They do look not quite the same as they did before the mange outbreak, do they? Not quite as pristine, but that is the life of a lion. And these little chaps have really made it through some really harrowing times. And they'll start to move, I think, when they cannot see the lionesses anymore. There's one lioness still sitting next to us. I'm just going to call this in on the radio quickly in case anyone wants to come and see. stations, and Nkuhuma Pride is now mobile in a northeasterly direction towards Bavuso cut line. The youngsters are still on Mvubu Road. The lionesses have moved northeast towards the cut line. That's very sweet, isn't it? Now, I'm struggling to tell the difference between them, the cubs anymore. Sorry about that movement. And, of course, when they are a year old, or a little bit older than that, it'll be impossible to tell the difference. If they all lay next to each other, we could tell who was younger and who was older. I'm just going to tell you what's happening on the left. We're not going to try and show it with the camera. But the lioness has now started to move off, and you can see they've sat up to look. There we go. There you can see the different sizes. Oh, so cute. Yeah, Asher, I share your sentiments completely. You say that you've been gone for 3 weeks and you can't believe how big they've got, and you're so relieved that they are looking so well. Well, I am too. I think they do look great, and they're all now marking on that same tree. Let me just get us into a decent position for that finally, as they move off. Okay. Alright, we're going to try and follow them. I'm going to try and follow them sort of parallel with the road. Now, I think they've moved off the road because they don't want to be in an obvious area. They're moving off sort of in that direction there, and I think they're going to pop out onto the cut line. So while we see if we can find them the other side, and while the light is fading, let's have one last look, I think, at those leopards with Byron, and we'll hopefully catch up with these lions on the other side here.
So Karula's just moved off, but Xongile is still right in front of us, so I'm not going to move at all. Karula's just moved down the drainage line, up the drainage line. I wonder if the little one will follow her mother. I'm sure curiosity is going to get the better of her, and she'll potentially stand up and follow. Oh, hang on, there we go, just as I say that. See, she's watching her mother intently. I can't see where the female is. She's moved a little bit, or basically behind some trees now, so I can't see her at all. Look at those beautiful eyes. Isn't that wonderful? I can hear Karula. I can hear some branches moving. I wonder if there isn't a tree that you potentially try to take that kill up, but unfortunately just can't move at the moment because the little cub is in front of us, which is okay. It's not the end of the world. We'll just be patient and see. This little one is not moving at all. I'm going to try to see if I can't see where. But it is a bit dark. I really can't see anything from here at all. And if I don't just quickly check with it. No, there's some trees in front of me. So there's absolutely no way of... Sorry, I keep sticking my cap in the way. So she's moved a little bit now, but it's still, because she's still young, I don't want to really move too much closer to them and disturb the little one. She's still a little bit nervous of the vehicles, so I think if we were moving without the mother close by. So I'm not going to bother them. Hang on, let's just see quickly where she goes. If she moves up the drainage line. Alright, she's moving up. I'm going to try reposition. Let's quickly head back to James. I think the Nkuhumas are out in the open on the road.
Right, well, we're back on the cubs, and they are moving now due north. They came back out sort of onto the road, and I'll move towards them now. And we'll just see what they're doing. Of course, we can't really put lights on the little cubs, so I'm going to be a little bit careful about getting too close to them. We'll just put a little bit of sort of light wash on them. That'll be okay, especially if they're with the adults, but we're not going to put a huge amount of light on them. We've just got a few minutes left. You see the little ones just hanging back from the adults there. Now these lions are definitely on the hunt. It's interesting, you know, I haven't seen the little ones move with the pride while they're hunting yet. And so what's happening is I think that they'll, like I say, they'll move with the pride for a while. And then if the hunt gets very serious, they'll be told to lie down and shut up. And we often asked, how is that possible? We're not really sure. It's a look, or it's a different kind of a growl or something like that. But the cubs will just sort of stop moving. That's immediately why they're staying behind and they're not moving with the lionesses up at the front. Not easy to find yourself some dinner out here, I want to tell you. I mean, they've had a hard day of sleeping. Now they must go and find dinner, kill it, risk injury. Yeah, I'm not going to move until these chaps have kind of caught up with the others. The adults up front seem to have stopped though, and I wonder if they haven't spotted something. One of them's gone off to the right. There might be something in there. Go on, I get terrified now every time I see a cub lying down or not moving with the rest of the pride. I assume it must have some kind of dread disease, but I think this one's okay, I'm sure. We've seen them moving, they're fine. Now the adults up front moving very stealthily now into the bush. Completely silently, and I'm afraid I can't follow them while the cubs are here. So we'll just have to wait and see what plays out. We might hear a sudden rush. The cubs might just get up and move. The cicadas are calling, very quiet changing of the guard tonight. Very little in the way of robins making their final calls. One or two franklins and things, but not a great deal. Let's just see what happens here. So we'll sit here. I mean, you can obviously see all of the cubs on the ground there. The young, or the lionesses have headed off that way. And I'm afraid I can't really move right now. I've got to wait for them. I'll turn the lights off and just move slightly forward. Just going to turn the light on a little bit there, and you can look at that one moving. And that one, I mean, it is walking a little bit sort of stiffly, and that's okay. Breeze, you're wondering why it is that lions and leopards have got black around their mouths. Well, Breeze, The answer is that that's just kind of the colour of their skin. They've got grey skin, and around the mouth it gets very black. And I mean, it's the same as a dog, really, a dog or a cat. That's the colour of their skin quite often around the mouth there. I'm trying to find a very low light setting that's a bit bright. That's all right. It's all right for now. We'll just have a quick look there. And then I'm afraid we are going to have to turn off and leave them. Yeah, I'm afraid this is too bright for them when they're on their own. So I'm going to turn off. I know that's not the best picture in the world, and we're going to bid the Nkuhuma Pride farewell and hope that they do very well in catching something delicious to eat this evening. So just to reiterate to those of you who are perhaps new viewers, the cubs have now been left on their own by the lionesses. The lionesses have moved through there, they're clearly on the hunt, and so with so little time left, I'm not going to try and find another route around towards the lionesses, and I'm not going to shine a light on the cubs because they are alone. And we do know that spotlights and lights and that sort of thing can, just maybe slightly blind them in the same way that it does us, but also lights can attract things like hyenas. And of course these cubs have had to pull through some really nasty times of late, and so we're just going to let them be. Good, well, it's been a rather productive day. Right, everybody, that's going to be it from Jandri and I today. It's been lovely having you on safari. Gorgeous afternoon we've had, quite hot. Tomorrow will be slightly cooler at 0500 when we see you then. So until then, stay safe and happy, and we will see you in the morning.
And look what I've found, or Brian has found. It flew and landed on Brian. Brian passed it on to me. A beautiful little click beetle, I believe. And they do make a clicking sound. I haven't heard it before. Oh wait, it might fly. Is it going to fly? Do you want to fly? No, it's staying with us. It is beautiful though, really, really beautiful bug. Alright, where do you want to go now? Sorry, so I'm going to twist my arm off. I'm just going to try flick it off so that it may go back to nature. Just actually, here we go. Well, what a wonderful afternoon. Very, very warm afternoon. A nice way to finish. I hope you've all enjoyed it with us. Thank you very much to Jamie and VM on Bushwalk, and Jandre and James on the other vehicle, and then obviously the ladies in the FC. Thank you very much. To Jerry and to Rebecca. It was a lovely afternoon with leopards and lions. Thank you for all your questions. It's always great to having all the viewers. Thank you very much to Brian and the Thumb. It was a lovely afternoon. We will see you all tomorrow morning on our sunrise safari. Goodbye, good night. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. Bye, everyone.